The expressed views of the guests on this podcast are theirs alone and not necessarily endorsed by the host, TWBC, or any associated sponsor. Conversations that are robust yet balanced, on point and to the point. You are listening to the talk of tournament water skiing. This is the TWBC podcast. And now, here's your host, Tony Lightfoot.
Well, greetings one and all. I am the aforementioned, I should say, Tony Lightfoot here at the TWBC podcast. Thoroughly appreciative of your support for each one of these episodes as we continue on the new series that I premiered a few weeks ago on tour with Freddie Winter. And we are at stop number 4 on the Water Ski Pro Tour. This is the Lake 38 Pro-Am presented by S-Lines. And yes, right here next to me, ready to give his take on what happened today and also on various other topics, is Freddie Winter. How are you doing, sir?
Very good, Tony. Thank you so much once again for having me. You're not sick of me quite yet?
No. I would never be sick of you. I mean, come on. I mean, you're one of the more entertaining people out of the bunch here. Seriously.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Well, of course, so are you. You're entertaining everyone all day with your dulcet tones and your descriptions. Your what did you call Arno's, the ultra turn or something?
Ultra slam.
Ultra slam. There you go.
Yeah,
coining phrases left, right, and centre.
Oh, I'm trying. Yeah, I mean, I should trademark some of these. I mean, I should have trademarked the aerial edge change, but I think that already been taken. And much like Taco Tuesday, but there you go. All right, and so you currently lead the competition. You've had 3 weeks of rest. Well, not self-imposed rest, but a rest from an exterior source kind of forcing you into that. But you certainly made good use of that time away, and it's shown out there riding a relatively new ski. I don't know whether you've been riding that right from the start of the season, but you certainly seem to be a lot more comfortable with it now.
Oh, I got the ski 2 Thursdays, 2.5 weeks ago. So my first set on it was the Thursday of 2 weeks ago. I got sent it by D3, and Will Bush told me somewhere around the Swiss Pro King Darkness week, said, I've got this new ski for you I'd like to try. I think it's going to be good. And, you never know. I've been sent skis before at all the companies that I've been with, and they've kind of, they've been not good. I've been sent skis where they've been amazing. And this one, I'm excited about it. I have to say, 2.5 weeks in and dialing it in, understanding what it does. It's different to the one I was on before that I was on the eye on for a long time. So, to be here, having got the 2 best scores of the day, 2.5 weeks into my move onto this Neo 2, I'm very, very happy. Especially, it's been a weird couple of weeks. So I've been skiing. I've been also enjoying life away from the lake. So I'm happy to be here and in a good spot for tomorrow.
I was halfway expecting you on your Instagram account to be posting a picture of you holding a great big bass or something like that during Memorial Day weekend. And did it almost come to that?
What happened on Memorial Day weekend will stay on Memorial Day weekend, and no one needs to know.
Okay, we'll leave it at that then. All right then. So from the position of being at the top of the leader of the leaders here in the men's slalom competition, we'll get to picking out 1 or 2 highlights from some of your other competitors, especially those that have made it to the 8. But let's have a look at the ladies competition. I've got the results here from the round previous, but it's fair to say that Regina Jaquess and Whitney McClintock-Rini, between the both of them, are just they're in another league, aren't they?
Yeah, Regina has been. She's doing nothing different to anything she's done for the last 8, 9, 10 years. Running 10.75 every round. What I'm maybe more impressed with is the way that Whitney's just she keeps finding another gear. She was the form skier going into the Worlds 2 years ago, and then it had that massive crash, and obviously took her out, and then last year she was coming back. But she's run 39 every single round she's skied in this year, outside of Moomba, of course, where you can't expect anyone to do that. But she looks amazing, and ran over buoy 3 today. She is going to run some big scores this year. Her onside, we had a chat with Swiss Pro. She says to me that she's rebuilt it, and it looks phenomenal, and she's already got an amazing offside. So she's a weapon these days. She really is.
Is there a kryptonite for either of these ladies?
Each other.
Yeah.
It's the only thing, right? Like, I mean, you got Jamie Bull, who's a hell of a skier, and is she won here 2 years ago, and she won the World Championships 2 years ago. Hasn't started the season the way that Whitney or Regina have, but not that's not to say that she won't be there. But right now, I mean, look, we know she's a known quantity. She's absolutely amazing. But to me, I'm almost more impressed with what Whitney's doing. I mean, she's just because she's kind of moving up. Like, she's 3 or 4 years ago, she wasn't running 39s at all. Like, she really wasn't, and now you can't think she'd miss it.
And she's going to be going along with a few of the water ski pro tour stops in Europe. I mean, she has indicated that she and Matt and Zane will be traveling over to Europe for a few stops this season. One of the stops she mentioned was San Gervasio, and so she's got an opportunity there to pick up some valuable points on the water ski pro tour. And by the way that I've seen her ski in recent times, I mean, you're going to be hard pressed to argue against that assessment.
Absolutely, she'll be the. I don't think Regina's going, but I don't think Whitney's ever been before. So you never know. It could be different water over there. Slightly different part of the world. But no, she'll crush. She'll do really well, and she'll be probably. I mean, Jamie's going, so the battle of the Canadians will be interesting. And then there'll be a few other skiers over there who are going to try and have a bite at them. But she's the one to watch in my eyes. One
of those skiers that is certainly eager to have a bite is Ali Nicholson, who produced 2 scores back to back of 1.5 at 10.75 meters. Now she's not at that stage where you eloquently described Whitney McClintock-Rini as progressing to the same level as Regina Jaquist quite yet, but she appears to be more next in line compared to some of the other competitors, with maybe the possible exception of Jamie Bull.
Ali was comfortably the number 4 last year. Regina, Whitney, Jamie all were sort of trading titles back and forth. Actually, Ali was the one that won the 2 titles when those 3 weren't there in Europe, the Duel and the Norway tournament. So she's right there. Today she will be disappointed. 1.5 is below where she would like to be and where she normally gets. So I think we'll see her get maybe something bigger tomorrow. And certainly throughout the year she's going to be running, I think, more 3s. And she ran the 4, I think, in order to get into the Masters. So she'll be there. Don't
discount Chelsea Mills either.
Never can. Tough as nails. That big crash at Swiss, and she's back here skiing. Impressive.
Indeed. Still, we're trying to recover from that ankle injury. Certainly wish her the best of luck going forward. Looking at some of the others, I mean, we've got a whole smattering of others. Alicia Bagnoli, who's made it through to the final. So too as Ali Garcia, Elizabeth Montavon, and Luisa Jaramillo. Any of those kind of stand out to you?
I always pull for Alicia. She's lovely, and she's skiing really, really well, and she looks better than last year. So I'm she's going to be the one that's going to go out tomorrow early. I think maybe first off, and I think she'll hopefully go and get a big score. She's, I'm friends with all of these people, to at least to some degree. So it's hard to pick, but Alice's. I'm pulling for her tomorrow.
All right, then. So when it comes down to possibly predicting a score for the win, I mean, obviously you're looking towards the top for the likes of Regina Jaquist and Whitney McClintock-Rini. Do you think it's going to take something along the lines as, so far as Whitney McClintock is concerned, tying a Canadian national record to take the win away from Regina? I think when it comes down to it, I think that it's going to be a runoff with 2. Which would be the same as the Malibu Open like 2 years ago. I think if I had to put money down, I'd say run off at 2, and then Regina or Whitney could come out on top. It could go either way because they're 1 for 1 in terms of tour events this year. Whitney won Whitney won King of Darkness. Regina won Swiss for like the 50 millionth time in a row. I think it'll be a run off at 2. I think that you've got to commit obviously, but I think that they will be both apprehensive about turning their offside to risk falling. With the other skier, so hot on their heels. All right, so you've been fairly close. You kept your ear fairly close to the rail so far as listening into some of the responses to the S lines. I mean, we We tried them last season. They were available when we skied on them last season here at Lake 38. They're a title sponsor this year. They're also going to be at the U21 World. So definitely the brand of S-Lines is certainly there and looking to make an impact. What have you kind of heard a little bit about the new X and S series lines?
I mean, just a very low-level chat with Dane. He said he liked it. Said that, I think you turn up at a tournament and you're not really going, oh, I'm really excited to try to test this rope. It's just you notice it if it's bad. And we've certainly had that in the past with various brands where you go, oh, man, this thing's super bungee. It's just not working. So for me, this is I said it at Swiss, like you turn up and you it's a safe pair of hands. We got everything kind of lined up for success here, and it does. To me, it feels really good. So I'm excited about it. And I mean, overall, just in terms of the market, it's good to have competition. Everything is getting so much more expensive in water skiing. The boats, the ropes, the skis. The more competition there is, the lower those prices can stay, and then the consumer can buy them, and then we have more of a sport. So we don't want any one monopolistic company running away and being able to put whatever price they want on things, because in the end, the consumer loses, and we can't have that because our sport will die.
Indeed, very well said, and we certainly extend every success along the way to S-Lines as they continue their push to try and get more of their lines out into the market. So let's go on to the men's slalom. Obviously, this is going to be more apropos to what you've done out here today. I mean, you've got 2 back-to-back scores of 5 at 10.75 meters, but I made the
10.25, Tony. I will pull you up on that just because it took me a lot to get there. So
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But I made the suggestion that in the first round, Nate Smith just basically bulked up on number 3, or at least number 2, and just managed to get the ski round number 3, just to make sure that you would be last out there on the water and play a little bit of mind games. Has that happened before? And is he prone to doing that?
I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I'm not in his head. Very happy in my head. And I think if he did that, then fine. Then I'll go out tomorrow. I'll know what I need to get, and we'll see. I'm going to be... My destiny will be in my hands tomorrow. And whatever... That's the beauty of being last seed. And I'm not always last seed. Doesn't happen every day. So the nice thing about being last seed is you do know exactly what you need to get.
All right, then. So, and also Nate Smith got 4 at 10.25 meters. So obviously he is there and thereabouts, although not making 10.25 meters in either of the 2 rounds is something that one tends to notice as being something unusual, especially here at Lake 38, where he actually holds the course record with, I believe, a couple of buoys at 9.75 meters. His picture is right up there on the 7th buoy.
Didn't do it last year.
Don't do it last year. You are right on that one, but if anyone can, he probably would. Now, Robert Hazelwood.
That's probably fair.
All right, okay. Robert Hazelwood. 2 scores of 3 at 10.25 meters. He's as happy as Larry, isn't he?
Yeah, he's figured it out. I mean, he had a rough last year after a really sort of breakout year the year before where no one really saw it coming. And if you can start getting those 3s, you saw him get 3 1/4 at the Swiss Pro in the first round. This is where you can start breaking into finals every single time and getting on podiums and building to go higher.
And whether he starts 3rd from last or 4th from last is going to be a toss-up between him and Dane Meckler, who also produced dueling scores of 3 at 10.25 meters.
Yeah, but to be fair to Dane, I mean, Dane ran over 4 3 times. So that's kind of the funny thing. I mean, taking nothing away from Robbie, skiing really well, but like Dane literally he kissed 4 2 out of 2 times, and he was quite a lot further over. So I mean, it's the scoring nature of our sport. Same here last year. Like I came into buoy 3 needing to run 4 to tie the lead, and 3 would have got me second, but I tried to turn it and fell and came 3rd. So the way our scoring system is kind of weird. You try and turn the buoy, you fall, you get a lesser score than just safetying it and taking the full buoy, or you can get the full buoy and get across like a further 30 to 40 feet across the lake, and you still get the same score. So it's a weird system. It's a system we know and love to some degree, but Dane was closer to buoy 4 twice than Rob was.
All right, then. So let's have a look at some of the other scores. Adam Saddlemeyer, who's on a little bit of a comeback trail after being out of the sport for about a year. And not only did he make the Masters via the LCQs, but he's here at this tournament, at the Lake 38 Pro-Am presented by S-Lines. He came through with a score of 3 at 10.25 meters and backed it up with half a buoy at 10.25 meters. Can't help but be impressed.
I'm really happy for him. He's someone I've known since I've started pro skiing, and a good guy, a really nice chap, and someone that, you never know the 100% the story on these things, but it looked like he had a really, really, really raw deal with his ban, and I felt awful for him then, and I feel awful for him now that he had to sit out. But I mean, what a way to come back, and he skied really well these first few tournaments, even better really than when he was skiing before, I think.
All right, then. Benjamin Stadelbauer, a guy that seems to have all the tools that one could ever hope for in terms of being a top-rate Aslan skier. And he is. I mean, let's not kid ourselves here. But he's still waiting for that breakthrough moment where he ascends that one final rung on the podium and claims a professional win.
Yeah, I think he comes second at Malibu Open in 2016.
Yeah.
And then he's had some... He came third at Moomba twice, maybe. And I think also on Countback. So, I mean, the guy's good. He's definitely good. He's run 2 at 41 on the Yarra River. But he's in it tomorrow. You can't count anyone out. I mean, he's a great skier. He's powerful. He's strong, really strong, and he'll be right there.
And certainly someone you can't count out either is Sasha Deska, who, having been on one particular brand of ski for well over a decade now, changes to 2
decades, I would say.
2 decades. Yeah, okay, 2 decades. Okay, let's double up on that. Sasha Deskin on one brand of ski, 2 decades, suddenly decides, hey, listen, I'm going to dump that brand and go on to something else. And he's been terribly consistent out there. He's gotten 5 at 10.75, but he came back and produced 2 at 10.25 meters to keep himself very much in the mix.
Yeah, I think he must be enjoying that new HO that people seem to like a lot, and he's there. Again, I mean, we're all in the final, and I like this straight final format because it doesn't really matter where you are on the first day. You've always got a chance. The head-to-head, it's not over after the first day, but you finish in 8th or 7th spot. You've got to go up against the guy that skied the best on the day before, and you've got to beat them. You can't tie with them. If you tie, then you'll go out. So this is a much better format. This is the fairer format, and I think it's actually better for our sport. Which, I mean, I'm getting off topic here, but it's better for our sport to have the men's and the women's together is going to be about 2 hours. Mm-hmm. That's a football game, right? Yeah. Instead of a head-to-head which goes on for 5 hours. I think it's hard, and often the scores are worse because everyone's exhausted. So I think this is the way, and I'm excited for tomorrow. I think it's going to be a good show. Indeed.
And part of that final tomorrow, and he'll be among the first people off the dock, is Robert Pagozzi, who's slowly but surely trying to adapt to a slightly less physically intense technique in order to basically keep his career going for as long as he can. Because I mean, with the technique that he had years and years ago, where it was just like all or nothing, especially with the gate shot, that guy couldn't really lasted much more beyond that.
But it's also, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you here. Maybe that's 100% it, but it could also be that he just the equipment he's on doesn't lend itself to that type of skiing. Same. I mean, I used to be a lot more physical than I am now, and I'm kind of running the same scores, but you adapt to the equipment you're on. And honestly, if you can be on a ski that's faster without having to do all that work, then great. You do want to be more balanced. The harder you work, the more pressure you have to deal with off the second wake. So you're better off not having to do that.
Absolutely. And so those are the 8 finalists that we've gone through here, and we'll look forward to seeing you ski along with those 7 other skiers tomorrow. Now, other topics. The reason why that you've been kind of off the tournament scene for the last 3 weeks concerns the Masters. Now, we're not going to go too deep into the weeds here. We've already discussed a number of things, and with the fullness of time, you've probably reflected back and and just thought about things in terms of your participation and in your band in terms of that participation. But let's talk a little bit about the Masters qualifiers, because the organizer of the Masters essentially banned you from the competition, but they took the decision to also exclude you from tournaments, the two LCQ tournaments, which they typically, to the best of my knowledge at least, have no direct control over. Is that correct in your opinion?
Yes, it was a strange. Yeah, I mean, I will get in trouble for sure. I need to be careful what I say, because I think that I'm probably not that popular with certain people that might have power over these things. But I mean, it wasn't the end of the world for me not to ski in them. But I also, at the same time, I think that that it, I don't understand why I was banned. I wasn't really given an explanation beyond the Nautique said that I'm ineligible. But I can't answer that question, Tony. Particularly, it's a difficult one, because I mean, when who's organising the tournaments and who's in charge of those tournaments and who's in charge of the sport?
Yeah, that's a very, very fair question. I mean, it's what is it's written in the rules, isn't it, that no corporate entity has power over the international organization. Is that correct? To the best of my knowledge?
It sounds about right. Yeah, sounds about right.
Okay, so with that in mind, and at least looking forward a little bit to next year, where hopefully things will change in your favour in that regards. The whole qualification deal with the Masters. I mean, because of COVID, because of the pandemic, the qualification had to go to those LCQs. A number of them, it started with 3 and is now ended up at 2. And they placed less emphasis on actually winning certain competitions, certain tournaments, or even getting high enough up in the previously instituted elite standings. Now, do you think that right now, as it stands with the qualification process, that it continues to set a dangerous process going forward, or should we move back to more of those season-long type qualifications and the odd tournaments such as Moomba or Botas or whatever else the tournament organizer feels should count as a qualification tournament beyond the LCQs?
I'll say this: there is a private conversations on the dock with my fellow athletes. Basically, most people are of the feeling that they prefer the old system. I certainly did. I mean, you go a whole year, you get in the top 7, you then qualify. You know that you're going to the Masters on whenever the last tournament is or whatever. That was how it was, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it was great. It encouraged participation at all the tournaments. It made people excited about going, traveling around the world. And you ended up always, in my opinion, with the best 7 skiers at that tournament. Now, the risk of having any, not necessarily talking about the Masters, but I mean it is in this case, like when you do a qualification for a tournament with a finite amount of spots based on one round. It's one event, but really it's one round, because you can ski really bad in one round of them, and then the other have a good round, and you're in. I think that the risk of that is you get a lower level of field. And it's just sort of like you might get the form skiers, or you might get someone that has a flash in the pan good round. So I always think that like a whole season narrative is much more interesting than a sort of a one-off deal. If you look at like all the big sports, they really we're sitting in the USA, so the NFL being the king here, like you have a build up from the preseason to the through the traditional season, postseason, and then the Super Bowl, right? So that's a whole narrative. I think that having just one-off tournaments that qualify you, I'm not sure I'm a big fan of that, and I know for a fact that my fellow professionals, one of the really, really top guys said to me the other week, it's just not what it was. as a result of that.
Actually, one of your fellow people that ski on the tour, Will Asher, actually kind of made the point a little bit last season when I did a podcast directly after the Swiss Pro. I asked him about the whole qualification process, and he bemoaned the whole process of having to like re-qualify for a competition which he should be by rights be able to qualify for based upon the old criteria.
Will Ash is a great example. He's a guy I go back and forth with, right? Sometimes I beat him, sometimes he beats me, and but there's no doubt that the guy for the last 20 years has been in the top 3 skiers in the world any given year. I mean, there's just no doubt. He's been to every Masters since then on the basis of his qualifying throughout the year, and I mean, until he had a 10 out of 10 year last year, had his best ever year, incredible at the age of 40. He gets to May 8th of this year, the day after the Swiss Pro, and he's not qualified for the Masters, right? So then he's got to go qualify, and that's like, to me, that's odd. So imagine he like has a couple of bad rounds, or it's like it's incredibly windy or whatever, and Will Ash doesn't get to go to the Masters. It is again, I'm not sort of pointing at the Masters here necessarily, but like if you every event, we're at Lake 38, every event wants every one of the best skiers in the world there. To me, if Will Ash is not turning up at your event, you don't have the best skiers in the world there. So
no.
I mean, so that seems a risk that you've got a tournament that is one of the very best. It's an amazing tournament. Don't get me wrong, but like I don't know. I feel like Will Asher, who's been amongst the very best or the best for the last 20 years, and was the best last year. I mean, he was incredible last year, and there was a risk that he wasn't going to get in. It's a risk. It's a risk. Yeah.
All right, let's continue to move forwards a little bit. Beyond this competition, there's LA Night Jam. I mean, there's it's strictly nighttime jump event, and then we basically go on into Europe. I mean, there are a number of events. There's Botas, there's Caiaphas, which I know you enjoy, as well as a whole bunch of other skiers. Then San Gervasio, and then a few others. Which of those tournaments kind of stand out for you on the Water Ski Pro Tour going forwards? And
yeah, I mean, Caiaphas is always good. I think we talked about that before. I'm excited for all of them. I spent a hell of a lot of time on Thursday and a hell of a lot of money booking all my flights, entry fees, all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to go and support all those tournaments as the way that they are supporting the sport. I'm going to try and do every single event for the rest of the year, injury permitting, all that sort of stuff. And I think we've got a hell of a season ahead of us. It's so exciting, culminating, in the World Championships, and then we can all have a bit of rest.
Yes, indeed. And I was about to ask about the World Championships again at the same venue in Lake County over at Jack Travers. It's nice to have that security, nice to kind of have that level of site, that level of facility available to have the World Championships. But for the second straight time, something about that. I mean, you kind of wish that the World Championships would change venues, as it has done every single year.
As it's supposed to. But I look at it with two hats, right? There's me as a skier. I live in Florida. Travers is a hell of a place. It's as good of a place in the world to water ski as anywhere in the world. You know that everything's going to be set up. So I'm not. There's nothing negative I'm saying about that. What I look at it from my view of like the sport, and yeah, it's a shame. Jacinta Carroll, who's the best women's jumper that's ever existed, is considering not coming because she's annoyed that she has to, travel all the way, like miles and miles and miles away, second year in a row when it should be moving around. That's a shame. We should be. Everyone talks about diversity, and that comes from many different areas, and one of them is diversity of location. To allow for different people to have access to it, right? So there are amazing sites in Europe. There's amazing sites, presumably in Asia. Amazing sites in Australia. I don't know. Again, not saying anything negative about it being at Travers. I think it's personally, I'm happy it's there. It's the most convenient for me. It's going to bring great conditions. For the sport of water skiing, it's definitely not for the best that it's in the same place 2 years in a row. If it was at, my home lake in England, and 2 times in a row, I would be saying exactly the same thing. It's not what we need, and I think that there needs to be a bit more imagination into how to make the World Championships an attractive prospect, so that someone else will go it with both hands instead of keep going back to the same place.
Yeah, that seems to conflict a little bit with domestic opinion in the United States. Where their World Series of baseball in the collegiate realm and also in the women's softball realm, those events are always held at the same location around about this time of year.
And there's, I can see that to some degree because the Super Bowl is the World Championships of American football.
Apparently,
right? But it's only big here, right? Whereas water skiing, as much as it's biggest in the US, it is a sport where there's, I think there's 200 federations in the world.
Yeah,
200 national federations. So that says that there's 200 countries that have an interest in it. So yeah, I think it's very lazy to bring it back to the same place every year. As much as it's the absolute best thing for me, I like to see things from a slightly broader perspective than just my interest. And for sure, it would be better if it was somewhere else. Because look at the World Championships in the last handful of years. We had in 2015, it was scheduled to be in Idriscala, Italy. So like a really, really, really awful place, which for water skiing.
Trust me on this one. I skied at the Idriscalo in the late 80s. It was horrible then, and it's probably still horrible now.
Yeah, it's where Mussolini used to land his seaplanes, right?
Yeah.
So it was scheduled to be there, and then the Italians, something happened there to where it wasn't able to happen, and we end up on a private lake. It was rescued by the guys in Mexico in Guadalajara.
Boca Laguna. So, and that was a good place to ski. That was fair. Now, then we went to France, which was, I won there, and I'll tell you that it was unfair. It was bad, and I disagree with it being there. Then we went to Malaysia, which was appalling, unfair, dangerous. We had some bad injuries. Then we ended up at Travers, which is so much better. But we've got to find a way to make the World Championships an attractive proposition. Look at all these pro events we have. We have more pro events than we've ever had since I've been doing this. They're cheaper for sure. You're only doing 1 event or 2 events. They're cheaper to have, but people want to have them. The World Championships, it does seem that it's expensive enough. I'm presuming it's prohibitively expensive to where people don't want to actually take it on. So we've got to find a way to make it attractive for a 2-lake site to hold. The Travers guys, they did as good of a job as could possibly be done. Oh, yeah. No worries about that.
Yeah, and they will do again, I have no doubt. Those guys are a hell of a team and they've got a hell of a facility. But it can't be that we end up in a year and a half going, okay, we're going back to Travers. It cannot be like that, because then the sport's just... We can't just always be in Florida and America. Yeah, it's the heartland of water skiing, but it needs to be moved around. One of the aims of a World Championships presumably has to be to grow the sport. That's what they kept telling us when they took us to these pits in the middle of nowhere with 2-foot waves. So we can't go kind of completely the other way.
And that kind of extends a little bit to Europe as well, because this season, for the second consecutive time, the European Championships are going to be held in Italy, albeit at a different site. But it's interesting that different site has kind of bulked on the whole prospect of holding a title event ever since they did their last one in 2010. Like Matteo and Fedeli have always resisted doing those kinds of events in favor of doing their own pro event, the San Gervasio Pro-Am. So something kind of changed a little bit with their mindset to where they were willing to do that event, that kind of event, and do it like 12 months after a similar event took place in the same country over in Rocchetto.
I think I hope it's not I think they had incentives from their local area, right? So I think that kind of comes into it, and it'll be a great event. I don't know if I'll go or not. The Europeans isn't exactly top of my list. It's an amateur tournament, which I haven't really gone to the last couple of years, and you can't. I'm a professional water skier. The only amateur tournament I want to do is the World Championships, because that's a huge title. So, but yeah, they'll do a great job. Whoever ends up turning up, it'll be a good one. But at the same time, you couldn't you could not stop me from going to the tournament that's happening 2 weeks before, which is San Badger Pro, because that's a tournament that's really going to grow the sport. It's a pro tournament, and people really like to follow that, and that's where the sport is going, in my opinion.
All right, then. That was Freddie Winter, and this has been the TWBC podcast with the On Tour with Freddie Winter series. We thank you very much indeed. We'll get with you right at the end of the this tournament, the Lake 38 Pro-Am presented by S-Lines. This has been another episode of the TWBC podcast, and until next time, it is ciao for now.
Thank you for listening to the TWBC podcast. Be sure to check out our website at waterskibroadcasting.com. Links to our presence on major social media platforms can be found there, as well as updates to our webcast and this podcast. Duplication or rebroadcasting of this broadcast without written consent of TWBC is prohibited. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform, and be sure to join us next time for the next edition of the TWBC podcast.